I got a little pig talk here.
A little piggy. I saw Piggy moving around, a little squirming. Welcome to Liberate University.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Liberate University. Today, you see, we're surrounded by these beauties. Crystals. This is kind of like a crystal 101. A lot of people always ask us, what are crystals? And, also understanding how the heck the energy of them works and why people want to buy them and hold them and meditate with them and do all this stuff. So we're going to cover that today. So Jerome, this is Jerome, everybody. For those that don't know, I should have introduced him. Amazing practitioner, hypnotherapist, energy healer, and intuitive that has been a part of the Liberate family for almost a decade. And for those that don't know me, I'm Cristina. I'm the founder of Liberate. So, Jerome, I want you to share, what are crystals?
Well, that's a really good question, and there are kind of a couple of different things. To a certain degree, crystal, that term is kind of a bit of a catch-all because there's several different types of things that it kind of encompasses. They might be minerals, mineral deposits. It might be just kind of the way that it's formed when it crystallizes and comes together, the way that it settles. But in terms of what it is that we have here in front of us, these are crystals, possibly some people might even call, you may have even heard the term gemstones.
So not I can't ever say that name right.
No. What?
No, that fake glass crystal that's in like every little mall across America. Starts with an S. Swarovski. It's Swarovski. Yeah, no, Swarovski crystals or Swarovski.
I know what you're talking about.
We're not talking about those.
No, real, legitimate, out of the earth crystal deposits, minerals. That's what we're talking about. All of this stuff was underground, formed underground at one point in time, was dug up accordingly.
So in essence, crystals or gemstones are they're the earth.
They're the earth. They're stones. They're what we walk on. If you've ever been walking down the street and you kick a little white stone out of your way somewhere and you see it kind of sparkle a little bit, well, yeah, that's probably was going to be some sort of form of feldspar, honestly, but that's more detail. We can get into that later. But those are stones. They are all legitimate stones, and we use them in a lot of different ways, maybe even in some ways that you might be surprised about.
Well, one of the ways, like being a metaphysical store, now, we're going to get into the surprise ways in a minute. I'm going to bounce that back to you. But for the purposes of in the metaphysical store, a lot of people use stones to access different type of energy centers. And people always are like, how does that work? You just hold a stone and it gives you prosperity, or it's good for your healing, or it's going to open your heart and make you fall in love. And that's one of the biggest questions we always get. And people don't understand like how holding an object for what they look at as an inanimate object can give them these powers.
Sure.
I always give this as an analogy. Follow me. Maybe you drink wine, maybe you don't. But crystals have energy. Okay. And we are energy. And in Eastern medicine, oftentimes you'll see the meridians, which are these energy channels that go through your body. And they circle either in a downward or an upward, and there's these paths and these lines that go through you. And in acupuncture, all of the different areas where they'll put in the needle, it matters which way they turn the needle to help the current of the energy flow in different ways, okay? So all of that being said, since these items here, these gemstones and crystals have an energetic vibration, they're kind of acting like an acupuncture needle for your body. And that can help the flow and the energy go in different ways. Now, when people say they have these feelings, this is where the wine comes into play, is that over time, the more sensitive you get to working with crystals, you are going to notice a subtle energy shift within your physical body and within your emotions, your physicality, your energy, and maybe even some of your thought forms and the way that, all of that. It's
almost like in how somebody's palate can kind of become a little bit more refined.
That's what I was getting at. So he's helping me out here. But over time. So in the beginning, if you had first introduced to wine, there's red wine and there's white wine, and that's it. And people don't know much of the difference. That is, all red wine's the same, all white wine's the same, and that's kind of the separation in category. One's cold, they're two different colors. And that's kind of when people first started getting into gemstones. It's like, okay, this one's rough, this one's smooth, and they're different colors.
Right.
But if you keep on allowing yourself, if you start to become a wine drinker, let's say you love red wine, and then you start to notice the difference between a Shiraz and a Pinot Noir, and the more you drink it and the more your palate becomes refined, you can literally tell the difference between a French Burgundy Pinot or a Pinot that came from Sonoma County. And you can further tell even more details about it. So I'm talking, you can get down to the varietal, but you can even understand what region it comes to. It comes from. And that's kind of the same as the energy properties within stones. So follow me for a little bit. And if you continued to play with them and you continue to work with them and use them, you would start to notice the difference. And you might even notice the difference between a Brazilian amethyst like this one right here. If you can see, this one is a Brazilian amethyst, but this one is a Uruguayan amethyst. I know that's a lot, but there's differences in the color and the different types of points that can tell me what region they come from.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's all on the energy properties. Now, Jerome, why do you love crystals?
Oh gosh, I mean, there's so many reasons, but just to kind of pick out one or two, they're useful. They have absolute kind of use in what we would call the 3D physical world.
Okay, wait, because we were seeing uses that you wouldn't normally think. I think that there's some things in the 3D world, like our cell phones being made with quartz crystals, that you guys need to know about.
Absolutely.
So I need to know a lot of different ones.
Cell phones or the faces of your watch, because quartz is known for keeping rhythm extremely well. This is why I think the catchphrase of one particular company was "takes a licking and keeps on ticking" for their particular type of watches, and it was because it had to focus. It was focusing on how good at keeping time their particular pieces were, because they use quartz specifically and solely for their items, and that is something that is a very large family of stones. Amethyst being one of those stones in that particular family. Also, if you've happened to heard or hear of it before, I don't know if you can really kind of see it, but I'm holding kind of two pieces of what we call citrine right now that are also in that particular family of quartz. Now, quartz is used in that particular manner for timepieces and things that need to keep a certain rhythm. There are also, and I saw that you picked that piece up.
Because I have a good story about this. So I was going on a hike or camping with, we'll just call her a past friend. And so, no, she's no friend, but her father was a geologist. And so one of the things was we were passing all this lepidolite, which is what I'm holding in my hand. And so lepidolite and mica or mica, however you want to say it, which is the yellow version, is this like really flaky type of stone. And it can kind of like peel apart a little bit as you see me kind of peel it. And it sparkles and it shimmers. Well, the interesting thing about it is this is lithium. So this is ground up and used in a lot of bipolar medicine, especially still in Europe. But the cool thing that she let me know about this is back in the day, this was used as the face of ovens. Yep. And people could see through with it and it would help hold the heat and the different things. But how fascinating.
Which is a really great segue into our next stone, because you're absolutely right. This flaky, I guess, characteristic in geological terms is called a schist, S-H-I-S-T, a schist formation. And that we get that when we see that in a particular stone, it means that it usually has pretty good insulative properties.
Now, see, I didn't know all that behind it. I just thought that was really cool that I learned that used to be the oven doors.
Yeah, and that would, because if you look at a piece such as this pretty close up, you can see that it is very thin. I call it the phyllo dough of the gem world, because it is so thin and so flaky.
Baklava.
Yeah, exactly, like baklava. And so, you can kind of make this really thin and you can polish it up and you can see through it, but it also still insulates really well, which makes sense as to why it would be used on the inside of an oven. Now, this is another stone. This is pyrite. A lot of people have seen it. Sometimes you might have seen it and heard it called fool's gold or something like that. But this also can form in a schist formation. Okay, which again is very thin, very flaky. Now, this particular stone is, in fact, it has been used by our space program before in that it's ground down really, 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 really powdery and into a very fine form. And it's been used in the tiles that are placed on the underbelly of our space shuttles to allow protection during reentry. Because when the shuttles come back in, they come back belly first rather than nose first. And so the belly is taking the majority of the heat upon reentry into our atmosphere. And they have used ground pulverized pyrite in those tiles to help keep the ship and the crew on board safe.
Interesting. And then, of course, we got the stones that a lot of people would know of because they're made into jewelry. Right?
Yes.
So, but this has a twofold process because one of the favorite reasons why I love crystals is the shapes and the formations that grow so naturally. I mean, the fact that this grows in little cubes like this is just, it's like, what? But not only does that grow in cubes, okay, so this little guy here is a garnet. So a lot of people like garnet jewelry. Now, this one did get polished up, but in its raw formation, it grows like that. So it still has the same shape to it. And the geometric shape of these are natural, okay? So I want people to know this. This is natural, and these are the same family. This is pretty much brother and sister. This is sapphire, and this is ruby, okay? They're the same mineral. And this one's just a little denser than this, blue and red, right? But how cool is that it grows in a perfect six-sided, look at this. These sides are the same on each side.
Yeah, it's not worked at all. That's just the way
this is just natural. And you can even see in this one too, perfectly. Do. Now this one, the two tops the top and the bottom is a little flatter than the other side. So it's a little bit asymmetrical, but it's still the six-sided.
And that asymmetry is actually there because when it was basically what we call double terminated, when it stopped growing, it was in a growth process. And so that's why it's a little bit off balance because it was mid-growth.
And then look at this guy.
A lot of people may have seen this one before.
Look at this guy. Okay, so in school when you have to draw little geometric shapes and then you make it kind of like crooked a little bit and he's like dancing. This is like the dancing,
dancing square.
Dancing rectangle, and it's like slanted. This is optic calcite. It grows like this. This is not, nobody cut it weird. It grows like that. Pretty cool, right?
A lot of people may have also seen that particular stone, the optic calcite, on the cover of Dark Side of the Moon. Anybody ever see the cover of that where the rainbow, the light's coming down, the rainbow comes out on the other side? This was an experiment that Sir Isaac Newton did. And this particular stone itself is known to bend light in a different way from any other stone. And there's actually still not entirely sure, as I understand it, as to why that's the case. They just know that is a property that this holds.
So this stuff is fascinating. And then we got my girlfriend over here, she's looking really good. People can sculpt stones for just decorative look.
Absolutely.
This little guy or this little
what
girl.
Kind of stone is this one?
Emerald.
This is what raw emerald looks like.
So a lot of people, you can see the greener parts in there, which is what traditional emerald is known for. But you do get some of the black in there, which is actually tourmaline that's in there. And so you have the emerald is the green and the tourmaline is the black. But, this little puppy, very expensive, even though it doesn't seem like it's as bright of the colors and stuff like that. I also, so another form of calcite, beautiful. This is angel wing calcite. And look at how they just grow out like that. I mean, it's just like, what? It seems like these little wafers just come out of the earth.
Yeah, and that is a process that we know as calcification. So a lot of times with minerals like calcium or sodium, otherwise known as salt, they can begin to perpetuate themselves. And those in particular will grow rather quickly. Sometimes you may have seen maybe on a faucet somewhere in your home or a spigot just outside, maybe a little bit of white material growing around the rim of a particular faucet or a drain. That's calcification. If you've ever had a sore throat and you decided, oh, I need to gargle with salt water, and maybe you left a tiny little bit, just a drop or two of water at the bottom, and you went off for your day and you came back and it had dried, but then it was a little cloudy. It was almost like a little film right at the bottom.
Yeah.
If you somehow forgot about that and left it there over a couple of days, you might start to see little crystallizations happening. And the larger they grow, the more you see the actual molecular shape of the sodium.
That's some of the crystal growing kits that you can see.
Absolutely.
Well,
Precisely.
I want to get into one of the other things about crystals that I love.
Yeah.
And that is almost all of the crystals that you're seeing here on this table and over there. The colors and the variety of these crystals are out of this world. And then I do want to say, though, that sometimes you can find things in the store, and Jerome will go over that, of not natural, but the color of this, you can't fully see, but it's deep, deep red.
Yeah, because that's called a red garnet, correct?
Yeah, that's red garnet. There's also green garnet out there.
Very true.
And then look at this pinky. It's like, looks like a little candy that you just want to eat it. Now, this is not rose quartz. This is rose calcite, but it's like a gummy bear. This is natural. Or the purple in here is natural. The deepness of this orange here, the purple here. What about that blue lapis there?
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. Absolutely wonderful. The ancients actually believed that the souls of gods resided in lapis, in this particular type of stone.
So many cool things with it. Want to show a couple the cool colors over there?
Absolutely.
I got a pig that's the Labradorite or the other one.
Absolutely. This is a really nice one that you get to see and enjoy at a couple of different angles. Let me see. I'll kind of move it a little bit and see if you can kind of pick up any
the blues and the
greens
in there.
So beautiful. Just how much color that particular one can have and hold. See, this is a slightly bigger one.
That's a little heavy.
Yeah, here we go. Okay. Now, this particular piece is, in fact, rose quartz. Now, do you want to put that pink calcite next to the rose quartz just so we have a little bit of a comparison?
Do you see one's like milky and then one more, to use the word quartz with it, but one has more of a glossy type of translucent type of appearance to it. That's one of the biggest ways you can tell them apart.
That's right. And again, for anybody who is listening and might be new, if you are, welcome. But also, keep in mind rose quartz and all stones kind of have little nicknames in terms of like what it is that they focus on and what it is they do most heavily. Rose quartz is kind of known as the love stone. Okay, so that's what this particular piece is right here.
And we're going to get into and doing a whole series to watch some of the other videos on some of the metaphysical properties of the stones and learning what stones are good for prosperity, what stones are good for protection, health, love, creativity, and you name it. We'll keep on going and showing you a few of those. But I think it's important to note that not all stones, like I said, almost every one of these is the natural color, right? And how it grows. But this
by and large, yeah.
This one right here is color enhanced. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is a natural stone underneath. This is called the Moroccan geode, and it's a quartz formation underneath here. And so sometimes it can come in just clear quartz. Sometimes it will be in amethyst, citrine, smoky quartz. So we're not exactly sure what it is under here, but I would say based on the points, probably just some kind of regular quartz or maybe amethyst. But they colored it and then they enhanced it. And a lot of people like the different colors, the way that it sparkles and shines. Jerome, do you want to go over the biggest thing that I think people don't realize is color treated in stores, which is citrine?
Absolutely. So citrine is one of the more popular stones that you'll find out there in terms of its availability, because it is fairly and widely available. It is a part of the quartz family. It is very closely related to amethyst, clear quartz, rose quartz, smoky quartz. There are a bunch of other cousins, but we'll get into that. The clear quartz, absolutely. So what we have here, I'm picking up a couple of pieces. You'll usually see citrine as a fairly orange stone, okay? So I'll put these pieces here.
Yeah, like really deep golden color where you feels like it's super bright or something. That's most of the time what you come across in the stores. And we do sell some of that at our stores too, because people like it.
Absolutely.
However, now, that's not really how it grows.
That's kind of true. And I'm going to go ahead and put two more down just to kind of like show you what they look like in their more natural form in terms of their color or the color variation. Now,
do you have the other ones?
You can see the difference in those colors. Yeah, I have some over here. Tell you what, this one, a much larger one, and then I'll bring those two. Now, these are what we would call raw. Okay, these are raw in that they haven't been worked too heavily. Now, you can see the color difference between these more orange citrine and these lighter citrine. The reason that it becomes more orange is usually because of a heat treating process. Now, that can happen in a couple of different ways. It may happen from pressure under the earth. Maybe where they're growing is against some other stones and they're getting a lot of pressure and a lot of heat and a lot of friction, and that's raising the temperature in it, and that's going to gradually turn the color a little bit more orange, a little bit more yellow. And
that's what they're trying to get, because a lot of people like these ones. Did you grab any of the other ones that were really nice and super colored? There were points.
We didn't have. Okay, I was worried about getting one large enough for the camera to see.
No, that's okay. But this one, there's some of them. They have this really like deep golden brown to it, but it's a little rarer to find it pressurized in the earth.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So what happened is that they wanted to give it that effect. So when they were mining and they would catch something like this, and it was more clear, they were like, well, people aren't even going to believe that's citrine. So we're gonna torch it with a literally like a flame torch and make it a little more orange. Make it a little bit more
people
orange.
Hear orange, they think citrus, and the name is citrine. So
but
this a lot easier.
Heat treated, still great stone, still a natural stone, just got a little bit torched regularly with the golden color. Okay. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
There's so much to add when we're talking about stones. There's always more, but maybe we can cover some of those in our other videos.
Real quick, show the beautiful blue of your bracelet.
Oh yeah, actually, this
just so people see the different colors of things. That this is natural. This isn't dyed. This isn't heat treated. Nothing like that. That is a natural
aquamarine.
Aquamarine.
Yeah. And very nice too. It's nice, and there's clarity to the individual pieces. They're beaded, but yeah, it's just I remember when I saw this and I fell in love with it. I was like, got to get that piece, got to add it to the collection, and so glad that I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is giving you a brief overview of why we love crystals, all the different types of crystals. I mean, this is literally just scratching the surface, everybody. From you've seen just a tiny sampling of some of the beautiful things that our earth created. And, there's so much variety, and they all do have metaphysical properties. And so I invite you to join us in our series about the different metaphysical properties of stones for different categories. And if there's any questions that you have, or if there is certain topics that you would want, please like and comment below so that we can know exactly what to talk about. Because maybe you're like, I want to know what crystals that are good for court cases, or crystals that are good for a newborn baby, or whatever the case.
There are some that do focus on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we'll do the basics. We'll do protection, prosperity, love, abundance, and health.
Motivation.
But there's a lot more topics, because there's a crystal for everybody in every situation, I guarantee you.
Perfectly said.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for being here and joining us for this little rock talk, and we will see you next time.
Bye now.
Bye. Thank you for being a part of this class. We hope to see you at the next one.